Yes, welcome into the Press Row Show, the #1 rated pregame, intermission, and postgame show this side of the Mississippi, south of the Arctic Circle, north of the equator. And we have a show today because the Flyers are back in town as they welcome the Toronto Maple Leafs back to town as they look for revenge if they can get it. But they will be looking for revenge without their captain, who's not hurt. Well, as not hurt as a guy who missed 2 years with a back injury can be. But he's a healthy scratch tonight, which we're going to get into. But who do we bring on the show? Well, it's not just Anthony. He's here. We go to the great Kevin Kurz, who is now, is this a five-time? Are you
Something
five?
like
Is this
that,
like Booker
yeah.
T, the five-time
I
Press Row Show guest?
I got to be honest with you, Kev. Thinking about it all day today, I was like, all right, who am I asking to come on to be a guest to talk about this whole situation with Torts and Coots? And I said, there's only one guy who will really, really dive into this deep.
Thanks, buddy.
It's you. And so that's why I asked you.
I should have waited until you say it's you before I just assumed it. She said, it was so-and-so.
And then they weren't available.
You were my backup.
Yeah, they weren't available, so I came to you. Yeah. But no, I know it's something that has been talked about a lot in the last, I want to say 18 hours. I was talking about it on WIP last night with Jody Mack, and then, of course, it broke this morning that was actually going to happen. And, man, that's all people talked about today about Sean Couturier not being in the lineup. The last time, I don't think he's ever been scratched. I think that was reported by Bill Meltzer, right? Never been scratched in his career. I can't think of a time that a captain who was scratched within 34 days of being named captain. Like, I think that's a first time.
And with a team that's in the middle of a heated playoff race.
Yes, so there's so much
every
about
point
it.
matters. Everything matters. Yeah.
Yeah, so I want to throw it to you because, I mean, you were there this morning over at Skate Voorhees and Flyers Training Center, and I guess you were expecting to talk to Torts, and he decided, going to send Rocky Thompson out to talk to you guys instead. What was the take over there? What was it like over there? What was, you talked to Sean himself, and I think you probably have some other stuff to tell us too. What was the atmosphere like over there this morning?
The part that stands out to me is just the lack of communication that's obvious between John Tortorella and Sean Couturier. That's the part that I don't really understand. And, maybe is Torts hoping that Sean Couturier does what Morgan Frost did and initiates a meeting and sort of airs his grievances? Is he just hoping that maybe as the captain, he wants them to take the bull by the horns a little bit more and lead this team throughout a playoff, in a playoff race with a depleted lineup? Does he just want him to play better? I think if it's a young player, that's one thing. But it's your 31-year-old veteran captain who's gone through 2 years of back issues, who's toughing his way through this season, has been generally good. My impression after making some calls this afternoon is that the communication really hasn't been there for some time now. It's been a couple weeks, really, since Couturier's ice time started to trend downward.
You mean right after he was named captain?
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. When there's part of being a captain is being that middleman between the coach and the rest of the staff. Right now, maybe Sean Couturier hasn't been captain long enough that he probably hasn't changed a whole lot since it happened in the middle of the season, game 55 or whatever it was. Maybe he hasn't changed his approach at all. But at some point, you probably want to be that guy that's the middleman. And let's say you're a young player. Let's say it's November next season, and you're a young player you're a Bobby Brink, maybe, just hypothetically, who's maybe not getting the ice time you think you deserve. Maybe John's on your butt a little bit. And you go to Sean Couturier hoping that he's going to maybe give you some guidance as to how to deal with the head coach. Well, how the hell is Sean Couturier going to know when the coach isn't even telling him why he's coming out of the lineup? So that's the issue. That's the big issue I have with it. I think you can make a case that Couturier's play should be better. Listen, 1 goal in 27 games. I don't care what other stats you throw out there. It's not good enough.
No, it's right. You're right. It's not good enough.
But the communication, it should be there.
So obviously we all saw Coots' availability in the locker room, and he had a couple of interesting things to say. If you watch the video, to see how he was attempting to hold back a couple of things.
Seething, I saw some people,
I think
throw out there.
I think seething is a little bit of a good word to use there, and I just wanted to get your impression on it since you were there talking to him.
Well, I had a dentist appointment this morning, so I saw the video that Harry.
Oh, you weren't there.
But that said, the team put the video out.
Your teeth look great.
Yeah, we all saw the video. So I was there yesterday, and it was much of the same yesterday. The tone really didn't change from yesterday when he was sort of saying the same things, maybe just in a little bit less of a direct way. And John Tortorella yesterday too said that he doesn't expect there to be any lingering, feelings of ill will after, he was speaking about the dwindling ice time, and I'm sure he would say the same thing after tonight. But I wonder if that's going to be the case, where this is going to be a sort of thing where they can both quickly move on. I'm not convinced it is.
Yeah, I'm not certain it is either. And the one thing for me, look, I don't want to diminish the reasoning behind the benching of Sean Couturier, because he has not played well enough to his expectation level, right? He has not played to that level. And so therefore I can understand cutting back on his minutes. I can understand putting him in a smaller role, like on the fourth line. Like that kind of stuff I'm okay with, because you're trying to win the game at hand.
Right.
Okay? But what I don't understand is when you are 17 games, 8, whatever it is left in the season, and you are clinging to the last playoff spot in your division, and you're playing a bunch of really good teams, Toronto again, who just beat you, that you are taking your captain and veteran player who, oh, by the way, is one of only a handful of guys who has experience in these types of games, out of the lineup, and you're replacing him with an AHL player, in essence. I mean, I know Lixel doesn't play the same position, but the way you're moving things around, I mean, he's the guy that's coming in for Couturier going out. Like, it doesn't really that's the part that doesn't make sense to me. Why now? And I think that your point was, if you wanted to do it earlier in the season, or maybe even earlier in this run, it would have made a little bit more sense.
Right.
Like earlier this month, okay, fine.
Or tell the guy what he's doing wrong, and then if he's still not doing it, then pull him from the lineup.
Because the answer is there isn't a reason.
Again, this isn't a second-year pro here. This is a guy, it's...
Listen, there are reasons that you take a guy out of the lineup. There are reasons that you do something like this. And I'll point people back to a year ago. His whipping boy was Kevin Hayes. And also James Van Riemsdyk. There is a certain hypocrisy that exists within the mentality of John Tortorella. It's something that any team that hires him just has to, they bring him on, and they know that there are going to be a lot of warts, but the idea is that he's going to be able to maximize what he's given. And to that end, he's done a great job of pushing a lot of buttons and pushing these guys to or beyond their breaking point, and he's pushed a lot of the right buttons. There have been some times where I've said, probably ran Couturier into the ground, and I had people today on Twitter that were like, oh, he's only played 18 plus minutes a game, if you factor in the entire season. And it's like, well, sure, Nate McKinnon plays 22 minutes a game. Nate McKinnon's younger. He's not coming off of a back injury and back surgery. He's missing 2 years in the league. There are differences. So running a guy into the ground is relative. The Hayes and Van Riemsdyk benchings were different, because they weren't looked at as guys that had letters on the sweater. In fact, he ripped the A off of Kevin Hayes' jersey when he got hired, which some people somehow forget, but that's the thing. Couturier is not a guy that has a reputation for dogging it or for not busting his keister in practice and in games. So that part of it, that mental element, that veteran move, it doesn't apply here. Yeah, and the production's not great, but to Ant's point, are we really, is somebody really going to try to make the case that Sean Couturier, even as a fourth-line center, which in itself is embarrassing enough, is enough of a demotion, are we really going to make the case that the team is better in a game against a team that is also battling to solidify playoff positioning, in a stretch of games that you need to get points? Somebody's really going to make the case that Sean Couturier is worse at 65% than some of the guys they're trotting out in the lineup. I don't agree with that. I don't believe
we're going to find out, right? I mean, listen, if this team gets smoked 6-0 again tonight, that's not a good sign. That's an indictment. If they come out and if they somehow get as much as I question the decision now, we'll see how it plays out with the team. If this is the sort of thing that sends a message to the team, maybe that's the case. If this is the sort of thing where the team is able to play a little bit of a faster game without Sean Couturier in the lineup, we'll find out. But I still think you're running the risk here of really upsetting the room, really upsetting the culture that you've been so careful to build, when you're almost admitting that you pick the wrong guy as captain? Is that what we're saying here?
Well, I don't know about that.
I'm not suggesting they are, but the move suggests that maybe John Tortorella was the driving force behind naming Sean Couturier captain, and you pull him out for a game like this, it raises questions.
Yeah, and another thing that bothers me is what Russ was saying just a second ago is normally when you bench a guy and scratch a player, it's because they're doing things wrong, right? I mean, you might take minutes away because a guy's banged up or a guy just doesn't have it on a particular night. But if a player plays the right way, you don't usually scratch him for playing the right way. And I feel that that's what was happening here, and I think that that's why you risk losing the room. Because I think everybody in that room knows that Sean Couturier is a guy who night in and night out, whether he's got the legs or got the body, working or not, is going to do things in the right way. He's not being lazy. He's not not finishing his checks. He's not getting his sticks in lanes. He's playing the right way. He just doesn't have it physically. And if that's the case, and you think that you have to pull him out for that reason, you have to communicate that to him, and that's to your point, Kevin.
Yeah.
Like that's what has to be done, and that part is missing as well. And this is a real gamble here by Torts. It's a very, very big gamble because, to me, if they win tonight, he could come into that press conference, be all, look
braggadocious. I knew what I was doing. Push the buttons.
Look at how smart I am, kind of coach. Okay, great. And it's worked for him in the past with other players. Mm-hmm. So it could certainly turn out that way, and everything we're saying now is moot. Or it could be what you just said, and it's a disaster. And then how do you respond?
Yeah.
Well, the question is if he even responds, because, again, he deferred. Do we have a reason that he didn't talk to the media this morning? Was he getting a new cast?
I don't believe he was asked, but it's been a routine where the coach speaks before the players take the ice, so it wasn't, Couturier didn't speak until after Rocky Thompson, and even if that had been John Tortorella, he wouldn't have spoken until after Tortorella's conference would have been over.
Right. Yeah, I know.
If he doesn't show up, this is the very simple contention. If they lose tonight and he doesn't go in front of the media after scratching, or if he goes up there and he says, "I'm not answering those questions,"
that could happen.
That is a weak ass move by a guy who is a very much a bravado kind of coach, and a guy who has built a reputation as being headstrong. You have to answer things not every question is going to be a layup, and this city doesn't do well with 30-second press conferences. It's funny and cute sometimes, but not after you bench the captain, and if it doesn't work, which again, you said it's a gamble.
Yeah, it's
not a gamble he had to take. That is the part of it that's kind of like the unforced error, because
or it could have just been done in a better way.
Yeah, they could have
clearly
he could have masked it as it's a maintenance day.
Yeah.
True.
And that's it.
Yeah.
Could have just been a very simple maintenance day. Or he could have passed that word along. That could have come out. That could have been communicated through the team that Sean Couturier is getting a maintenance day. Back's been flaring up. They want to make sure that he's healthy, yada, yada.
You can't fake the injury, because if it comes out that it wasn't an injury, you can get fined and get in trouble for it. So you can't fake an injury. But saying just it's a maintenance day is no different than load management in the NBA.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, you could certainly say that.
They probably could have gotten away with he's sick tonight or something.
Right, anything.
But you don't. I don't know. I don't like that either, because especially he's out there skating late after practice yesterday for 15 minutes. I mean, there was clearly a reason behind that.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think it's risky, and I think it's a gamble. You know what? Let me ask you this, Kev. Do you think it has a little bit of a desperation feel to it?
I was thinking about that word today. I don't know if I want to go that far. Obviously, they're in the middle of this tough stretch with these teams. I just think you look at what happened in the Boston game. He makes that good play on the Delorier goal, and then he doesn't play for the last 6 minutes after that. But look what happened. You can't really say that was the wrong call, because Morgan Frost scores a goal. Joel Farabee scores a goal. If it wasn't for that awful goal that Sandstrom lets in, they might get a point out of that game. So, maybe he saw something in those final 6 minutes and said, we're playing a faster brand of hockey without Sean Couturier in there right now. Let's give these other guys a chance. So, again, we're going to learn a lot about the team tonight.
I think we are too. I think tonight's going to be a real tell you something about this Flyers team. I really think so. So it's fascinating. It really is. Like, it's never a dull moment with this organization.
Oh my God, no kidding.
Like, you think you got, what am I going to write about tonight, or what are we going to do? And then something happens as soon as you get there. It kind of throws everything out of whack. It's just what this team does.
It seems like it. It seems like it.
Oh, it's fantastic, fantastic. Anyway, a couple other moves in the lineup, a little juggling around, and I figured I'll throw it to you on this as well. Obviously, we mentioned Ollie Licksell gets recalled, and Adam Ginning gets recalled, so Atkinson also comes out of the lineup, and Mark Stahl comes out of the lineup. I honestly, I think Mark Stahl only gets back into the lineup if there's an injury. If you ask me, I think that's where that's at. With that, I don't think either of those moves surprise anybody. But when you look at how he's put this group together, do you have any impressions of these lineup changes and pairings on defense?
Well, if you look at defense, what's the best game they've played since Sean Walker got
Florida.
traded? Yeah, and who was the third D pair? So we'll see. And I thought Mark Stahl was playing all right, not so much the last couple games. I like Cam York's game. I like Zamula's game lately. You know, the bottom six is just, or not, I shouldn't say the bottom six, but there are obviously too many forwards in the lineup that more of them have to get going here.
Yeah.
Right? You'd like to see Owen Tippett hit the net a little bit more. Maybe with what Frost and Farabee did in the last game, both having an impact on the score sheet, maybe that gets them going a little bit. You know, we'll see. Maybe this is an opportunity for these young guys, right? Licksell, Bobby Brink, can someone step up and make a play? So, you know, in that regard, this is what this organization wanted to see, right? They want to see these young guys playing these important games, step up and do something. So,
yeah, I mean, there is, if you want to find a silver lining in this whole thing,
right?
It's the fact that your young players are now going to be counted on to try and win a very important game at the NHL level.
100%. Yes.
So there is a silver lining to that.
And that's what Danny Briere said today, talking to, you know, our guy Mike Russo in Florida, is that, you know, he's trying to put a positive spin, I guess, on the Couturier thing. But he said we've got guys, Tyson Forster in there playing well, and mentioned some other guys. Obviously, you know, Tippett, Frost, Farabee are all going to be probably I don't know about Frost, but the other guys are going to be cornerstones here probably for a while, right? The Cam Yorks and all those guys. So now's the time to show what they got to do, show what they can do, and especially now, you know, you pull your supposedly emotional leader out of the lineup. Who's gonna fill that void?
It's a great question. It's a great question.
Maybe nobody.
Do you get a sense from yesterday at practice, since you weren't there this morning, which I didn't know?
Yesterday,
I felt bad saying that. But do you get a sense that they look at this game as a revenge game? Are they viewing it that way, or do they just say we got to get the 2 points? Doesn't matter who the hell our opponent is.
Yeah, I do think they are looking at this. You know, they're in the middle of this stretch here of just legitimate Stanley Cup contenders for 6 straight games. This is the 3rd game, I guess, of that, right? I do think they recognize that the opposition is really tough here for the next little while. So you got to get some points out of it, right? I know the other teams around are struggling, but you can't go 0 for 6 here. You got to find your way, fight and claw for, you know, if they get 4 out of possible 8 points for the next 4 games, that's probably an accomplishment in my mind.
Yeah, so I guess I'm going to narrow it down even further before we let you go, because I know Bundy's done. He's just waiting over here. And I know you want to get back to. I know you're working on a story. I want you to tell everybody. I want you to tease your story because you got some good stuff in it coming up. But do you think it's more narrow than that, Kevin? It's down to 1 game, really. That if they win this, you're still in a pretty good spot going forward. Yeah. But if you lose this one, then like there's no middle ground. There's no unless maybe you get a point.
Yeah, especially because when you look at Toronto,
ground.
I mean, they're pretty comfortable in the standings, right? I mean, you would think at some point they're going to maybe ease up, but they've also smoked these guys. Yeah. Was it twice? Or
no, they came from behind the first time. Okay. That was the Austin Matthews 3 hat trick.
But they both raced them last week.
They still won that game pretty easily by the end, if I'm not wrong.
That was overtime, I believe.
Was it overtime?
I believe it was overtime.
Okay, I'm getting confused with something.
Yeah, that's all right. I think that was overtime, but they smoked them.
Or you might be right.
They smoked them last week.
Yeah. So, you know, maybe because of that, because of just what happened on Thursday, they ease up a little bit. But, you know, clearly this is a game where Torts wants to see these guys come out with some fire. You don't make the move that you would otherwise without, you know, and that's I think what his hope probably is try to send a spark through the rest of the team.
So, Kevin, we kind of alluded to it, but you have something in drafts right now.
Yeah,
what are you working on?
I did talk to Couturier's agent here probably about 4 o'clock, and I guess the gist of the conversation I got was an extension of what we learned this morning, that the communication right now between Tortorella and Couturier really is not there. And that should be alarming, because that's your coach and your captain, and every coach and every captain that I've ever covered, they have to have that sort of strong communication, ability to communicate with one another, because like I said before, more often than not, if the coach wants to gauge the temperature of the dressing room, he's going to the captain. He's asking the captain about it. So, if he can't go to Sean Couturier and find out about what's going on in the room, that could lead to problems.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that story will be up about when?
I'll probably wait until after the game to see if Torts comes out, because obviously we're going to want to ask him about, why is your captain left in the dark here in terms of why he's not playing.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, make sure.
And where can people find that article when it does go up?
On theathletic.com.
I was just going to say it, but thank you very much for asking the question.
Yeah.
Well, Kevin Kurz, thank you very much for joining us yet again, and I'm sure we'll do this again before the end of the season.
Okay. Thanks, guys.
Appreciate it, pal.
All right. Bundy is coming up. He's off to the side, and he's fired up tonight.
Bundy is.
Bundy, I wouldn't say Bundy's in rare form, but he's certainly fired up. I can also tell you that Bundy, if you missed it over the weekend, Bundy has gotten rid of the Bundy stash, which makes me very, very sad on the inside. And here he is.
But he's clean shaven now completely. So
he's clean shaven, which is great.
Me.
But
so you guys had the two
loved the stash.
Going.
The stash was great.
Now we're the two clean shaven guys, so you should be in the middle.
All right, what's going on here tonight?
Nothing.
Absolutely nothing. Nothing. What's your take on this whole thing today?
Wow, that's a nice open-ended question, Ant. Way to go.
Okay, let me spit it out in the best way I could, but I just spoke with Jason over there. So this is a coach's decision, and I don't like it at all. I think it's the wrong call. That's my call. It's the wrong call. Like someone says, who else comes out of the lineup if it's not him? There's lots of who's.
Yes.
You could find a who anywhere to get out of the lineup for him.
Yeah.
I've been in that spot. I was like 34 or 35 my last year, and I got benched a couple games early in the year. I didn't like it. I wondered sometimes if it was my own ego when I got mad, or if it was my disdain for Hitch. And then the thing is, he puts you back in the next game, right? Like, it was like, okay, what's your point here? So in all that's gone on, and in the fairness and transparency of watching the sport, Coots has not played well for a month. Pretty much since he became the captain. Maybe a little bit before that. Is it the right thing to do? No, it's not. I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do that if I were the coach, and I've spoke to some coaches today, they would not have done this. What you do here now is you're hedging your bet. And this is a 50-50 proposition now, because you can get guys to buy in if it goes the right way, or you can have guys fall right out the back of the pickup truck.
Yeah.
It only goes one of two ways. There's no like hedging and halfway in or out.
Yeah.
It's either they're all in or they're all out.
Yeah.
And so that's why my issue when you make a move like this. Now listen, benching a 34, 35-year-old Chris Therien is different than benching the captain who you just named.
Yeah.
There's a lot of optics involved. There's a lot of feelings on both sides. You have to take it all in. Tort's not speaking to the media today. Didn't help. Get out there. If you're going to sit out your captain, get out and address it.
Yeah.
Coots, at the same time, showed his frustration with the questions coming out.
Yeah.
And then people are like, oh, well, that's not what you want from a captain. Yeah, it is. Because I'd be pissed off too if some guy like that did this to me. If you've got 7 Stanley Cups in the last 15 years, great. Obviously you've done a lot. But I mean, if you're going to do this to a guy, I look for the end game result. And I don't necessarily like what the end game might present here.
So we just had Kevin Kurz on, and he actually he mentioned he's got a story coming out a little bit later, but he mentioned that he talked to Coots' agent, and that the message basically was that there's a complete lack of communication between the coach and the captain. And it's been like this not just today or leading into today, but that it's been like this for a few weeks. How does that work? How can you not communicate with your guy? Isn't the captain supposed to be the guy who is the liaison between the room and the coach? Isn't that kind of the idea there? Or am I misreading this for 25 years?
There's differences in conflict, right? And you know what? I wouldn't have guessed that. Going, like listen, the other thing I said, too, this is why it's a very, very difficult thing to deal with on many levels. Coots, they're not here without him.
Right.
They're not the top three.
Yep.
So he's thinking to himself, like, what the hell's going on here? I gave everything I had to this team this year. I came back. I could have sailed off and collected insurance money for the rest of my contract.
Yeah.
But he came back, and I know that hurts. It hurts when you get treated like that by a coach. And so, as for the communication, I'll say one thing. I'm just trying to think of the coach most like this guy was Hitch. I think sometimes they have to act differently, guys like that. They neither played a game in the league, never got. Hitch couldn't get, he couldn't get to a church league from Canadian Tire. And Torts, he played around in some little Florida league or something like that. But to get up here, to be able to get jobs without having a resume, actually having played when they got jobs is actually remarkable. Yeah. And you have to do that by being a little different than other guys. Yeah. And it's probably being a little bit edgy, taking on players in different ways. Go ahead, Ed. Sorry.
No, I just want to read for those people who maybe didn't hear Coots' quote. I do want to read it because I think it's important to hear it.
Yeah.
This was Coots today when he was asked after practice, which he skated for like an extra 15, 20 minutes or something after practice today. Quote, I've been putting the work in for a while. I've been struggling, but I've been working on my game. And it's frustrating the way I've been treated around here lately, but it is what it is. That's a lot, man.
He's also not.
That's a full backhand at the coach. That's a swipe at the coach without a doubt.
And he's not the kind of guy who's ever done that.
But if you back this up a little bit, and again, Coots, you're right. I want to first of all speak about the character of this guy because I traveled with him for every year he played. Up until this year, he's injured before that. He's a dynamite human being, tireless worker, good leader, good with players, a friend to many, and the issue I have is what he's done. I don't want people saying, "Oh, he has not been good." But is Lixell and Delorier going to get more in a game like this tonight?
No.
Than Sean Couturier? This is the most important game of the year. So yes, as a player who's been Coots before, I don't like it. I would be ticked off too. I played over 750 games here too. Yeah. And Coots just passed me. You feel like you deserve a little respect, especially after having just been named the captain.
Well, I want to throw one other thing to you because my biggest issue with it is, and I said this a little bit ago, but you make a move like this to bench a veteran when there's an issue with their hustle, with their determination, with their effort, with all those things. To make this call on this team, it's not a team that is on the precipice of going into the playoffs as a cup contender, and then you do play the mental game of galvanizing the team against the coach. And then it's an us versus him thing that leads you into the playoffs and sends you deep into the postseason. This is a team that has a lot of young guys that they think are going to be part of this thing. And for a team that's preached culture all year, why the hell would you make this move? This is not a move you make with a young locker room.
What did we say?
It could potentially poison the well, not against Couturier, but certainly against the coach. And again, the player's been here for a long time. And long after John Tortorella is gone, probably by virtue of the length of the contract, Sean Couturier will likely be here as well.
Russ, I just said that. It's a 50-50. Again, Torts is gambling with this play. I think the animal instinct in him likes doing stuff like this. I think he enjoys it, trying to make somebody better or get a grip on the team. But I'm telling you right now, I've seen this, and no one needs to tell me differently. It's 50-50. And it's always been 50-50 with him because he does this everywhere he goes.
All right, since it's 50-50, we got to do picks for tonight.
Intern Andrew, do you have your prediction? Oh, he's coming on the mic. Go ahead.
I'm going to say 4-1 Maple Leafs. I think Torts lost the locker room, so.
Whoa!
I got a bad feeling about it.
Whoa! You said he lost the locker room.
Hearing what I heard from Couturier today, obviously we don't know exactly what goes on behind closed doors, but that quote I think was telling. So if your captain is saying that, then I think that's bad news. I really hope I'm wrong, but I'll say 4-1 Maple Leafs.
Andrew is right. There's no doubt Coots fired one across the bow today. I mean, there's no doubt about it.
Yeah, for sure. What do you got there, Bundy?
Man, I tell you what, I've been bad lately, and it's because I'm picking with my, I think picking with my heart, and that's normal. I'm going 4-2 Toronto.
I actually think that this guy's going to somehow, some way, come out smelling like a rose after this game. I think we spent all this time before the game breaking it down, all the reasons why he shouldn't have done it, and it's going to somehow frickin' work.
And you might be right. I've thought that too. I have.
Like, I really do. And I'm going to pick the Flyers to win this game.
It's not a bad play, Anthony. I was thinking it.
I think the Flyers are going to win 3-2. I don't know why.
You're polishing a turd, aren't you?
I don't know why. I agree with you, Bundy. I wouldn't have done it either. I think it's ridiculous that he benched Coots, but something tells me that the outcome of this game is going to go in his favor.
Yeah, and it's I've talked to a couple NHL coaches today. Both of them thought that this move was just ridiculous. Like, they can't believe it.
Give your pick. They're about to do the anthems.
Oh, I think it's going to be bad. I don't think it's going to play well at all. 6-2 Leafs.
6. Here goes with the 6 again.
6-2 Leafs. We'll be back. First intermission. Talk to you all very soon. Yes, welcome into the Press Row Show, the number one rated pregame, intermission, postgame show this side of the Mississippi, south of the Arctic Circle, and north of the equator. I'm Russ Joy. That's SanFilippo. That is Bundy. Behind the glass, intern Andrew. He'll be with you, second intermission with trivia. Guys, just like we wrote it up, the Flyers came out with a bang off a face-off, a double screen. Usually that's for the Sixers, but it worked tonight. Owen Tippett puts the Flyers up 1-0 very early in this game, and then the scoring stopped.
We got a goal 19 seconds in. We got a fight. We got a couple of pipes hit, and not much else beyond that, right?
It's really odd. Like, the Flyers' breakout tonight is essentially dump it into the neutral zone, right? Like, I mean, I other than a couple like straight passes out of the zone, I mean, that's like, get the puck out of the zone. I saw Vegas do this a year that they went to the finals and didn't win the first year, and all they did was get the pucks out of the zone. So there's something to that. It's ugly. It's not fun to watch, but the Flyers do have a 1-0 lead. Toronto pushed a little bit, had some chances, not great. Flyers had a couple of opportunities, again, not a great period for either team. And it was it looked like a little bit like a feel-out almost.
Yeah, the one thing I have about that, Bundy, there's a little bit difference between the level of talent that the Flyers have right now versus the level of talent Vegas had the year they went to the final. And they were playing with that defensive mindset, and they had a great goalie that year as well. If you remember, their goalie was a surefire Hall of Famer that first year, right? That Fleury was there then, right? That was the first year?
Yes.
Yeah. Right? So Fleury was there. So, it's a little bit different when you want to play that kind of defensive-minded game and say, we're just going to, force you to keep trying to get into our zone and keep getting set up, and we'll keep dumping it out. I'm just a little worried that you're not rushing the puck up the ice.
They're not.
There needs to be a little bit of that. Even if it's a 50-50 split, that's something a little off with that for me.
They're in a spot right now where, and again, even at the blue lines, like, I appreciate that the sentiment. Like, if you don't have a play, get the pucks in deep. But there's been a couple turnovers at the opposition blue line. Matthews was kind of quiet, but you can tell the difference when he has the puck in the offensive zone. Yeah, it did. It feel like a feel-out period a little bit. I'm trying to think of who really stood out for me for the Flyers. I mean, nobody. And same with Toronto, really. Like, nobody really said, wow, that guy's playing great.
Yeah. It was weird. It was almost like a feeling out period.
It was, yeah, in a lot of ways.
Hey, Bundy, I know that you care about this. Expected goals after the first period, 0.59 to 0.47 in favor of your team, your town, your Philadelphia Flyers.
Rocky Thompson mentioned the fact that they look at expected goals on the power play today.
Well, because they can't look at actual goals on the power play. What did he find?
They've been getting chances. They've been getting chances. That's what he found.
You got to find positive in something.
Oh, jeez.
I'm glad you found that, Russ. That's
what I'm here for. By the way, the deserve to win a meter says 52.2% for the Flyers, so that's exciting stuff.
I would say they were a little bit better than Toronto that period.
Yeah.
Nothing great. Like, it wasn't like a lopsided period. It was a little bit better.
The really good news in all of this, and I know that people have been following along at home and they care. All of our scores remain intact. If the Flyers had scored a second goal, their intern Andrew would have already been out of contention. And that's important because as we do our predictions, and we need to check in with Allison, who's been maintaining the fan predictions, that spreadsheet, that gigantic spreadsheet. When we come over to our standings, we are in a very interesting position here as a team, as a group. Bundy and I are both tied at 38 points on the season. Anthony, though, nipping at our heels, 37 points. He's the only one to take the Flyers tonight. A Flyers win would put a three-way tie, a perfect score for Ant, which would be Flyers 3-2, would vault him into first place by himself. Intern Andrew, also interestingly, is on a 5-game heater, has 28 points, despite the fact that he has been he's picked 17 fewer games than the rest of us. So I guess I'm trying to say that intern Andrew probably would have walked away with this one. But thankfully, we didn't allow him to do it until we trusted him. And I don't know if we trust him yet. I think we're getting closer. Somebody asked at the live event the other day, they're like, when does he lose the intern tag? And we're like, well, it has to make sense. Whatever the next thing is has to make sense. And somebody at the live show pitched producer Andrew, which doesn't have the same ring as intern Andrew.
It's too many syllables.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like if he was Mike, producer Mike, okay, fine, right? But Andrew being 2 syllables and intern being 2 syllables, it's kind of rhythmic, right? It's
Board guy. Board guy.
Board guy.
B-O-A-R-D.
Well,
the man on the board. Maybe he is B-O-R-E-D. We don't know. We don't know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I did want to throw one on a more serious note over to Bundy, because news came down today that former Flyer draft pick who was in the Eric Lindros trade, Chris Simon, passed away today at the age of 52. They were both in the same draft year. Bundy, I just wanted to throw it to you to see if there's any memories from. I think you said you played with him was it in?
No, I never played with Chris.
No, but in before you were when you
when I was
hockey in Canada.
He played for the 67s in Ottawa.
Yeah.
And he lived there when his time. So I'd see him out and I got to know him. We used to play like rec hockey as we were preparing for our seasons, and then we ended up, ironically, from 2 different programs entirely, getting drafted by the Flyers together in 1990. The Flyers had 7 first 3-round picks that year.
Yeah.
And I went 47. He went 25. That was Mike Ricci's year when he got picked 4th here. But again, I don't know exactly what happened, and I can say that obviously guys same age as me, and I'm reading just what I've seen on Twitter, guys, and again, the amount of mental health issues that people struggle with are absolutely unbelievable, and it's devastating to see this person that's that young, that was a great teammate, a good person, so short in life, lose it like that. So again, I'd like to find out more. I don't want to comment really, guys, until I know. I'm just seeing some stuff on Twitter.
And
I haven't been able to piece anything together, and we'll hear more details. But again, this is a conversation that needs to happen more with the league and its retired players, because I've been down a bad road, and there's a lot of guys that have, and there has to be a discussion about that. It's a sad, tragic day on many levels, and we lost another former NHLer today too. In Florida, a young NHL player played for Pittsburgh.
Oh yeah, Koltsov.
He committed suicide. Again, that's 2 guys from a very small alumni.
Yeah.
It's not the NHL doesn't have 10,000 people every year out there, so this is a sad day, and I wish Chris and his family my forever thoughts are forever with that family. I mean, it's so sad on many levels, guys.
What was he like to play against? Because you played a lot against him, right?
He was a nightmare. And what was wrong, he didn't care if he knew you. What was wrong was, with Simon was, there was nights he just let him sleep. But man, if he woke up, he didn't care who you were. So, you're lucky as a big guy, but keep your stick up. But man, he's one of those guys, he didn't fight as much because nobody really wanted to fight him. Yeah. And he was a lefty, and but great teammate, great guy. I can attest to that. And just a very, very devastatingly sad day for his family and friends. And then Wawa community, which is up near Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. Yeah. That's a native community, and so they've lost a really great one today, and someone who's represented that community tremendously well.
You mentioned being a good teammate and being willing to drop the gloves, and I want to take this to a little bit of a happier place, and it's something that also has to do with the Flyers, and that, of course, is that fan favorite Wayne Simmonds retired, and he retired as a Philadelphia Flyer. And in some of his comments, very interesting that he gave the city everything he had. He might have shortened his career, but he doesn't regret a single thing. There was the rumor earlier in the season that Wayne Simmonds was retiring, and he said, I'll let you know when it happens. And now it officially has happened. Bundy, you covered the team. You were in between the glass and everything when Wayne Simmonds played here. Any fun stories about Wayne Simmonds or, the way that he was viewed in that locker room?
He was my go-to guy. So when I had to get radio or TV especially, when I was in a pinch and I was between the benches, that was my guy. And I'll tell you what, man, I know Wayne Simmonds ain't going to see us. I love you for that, brother. I was a new broadcaster doing that, and I had you and I had G. And thank God I had you. And for what you did here, for the way you represented this organization that I played for a long time, too. You're the man. You are the man, and I'm so happy and proud for you that you'll have this opportunity late in the Flyers season to come in here and sign that one-day contract and retire where he rightfully should be. It stunk the way the end of his career went down. It was brutal, and I hated that for him. He did pour it all in here. He had nothing left. He couldn't get another extended contract, so he went to Toronto, went to a couple teams, played on the minimum, and then ended up riding the bus for a while too. So this is where Simmer deserves what he deserves, and it's another great move by the Flyers management and brass to make sure something like this happens.
You know what stood out to me, and I want to throw this to you. The thing that stood out to me is I think it was the first year that I was covering games alongside you. It was although you weren't at. It was the Stadium Series game. You weren't at that.
That was his last game.
But his last game.
Yeah.
And the thing that stood out to me was the way that the media approached him after that game. It was like the typical scrum around him. And then afterwards, as the cameras went away, every member of the media walked up, shook his hand, and thanked him for being gracious and for, I think to some extent, probably like Bundy, helping them do their job, because he was never a guy who was afraid to give you a quote. He was never a guy that you really had to wonder what he was thinking. Like
he knew what I was. He knew I was a former player turned broadcaster, and that wasn't necessarily when you first do TV that you're suited for, right? You get used. Even I did radio.
Yeah.
But he was there for me, and I can't thank him enough for that. Because I think any broadcaster will tell you when they're new they have a go-to guy. Wayne Simmonds is probably my all-time favorite Flyer.
Yeah, he was great. He was always available. And what I mean by that is, like, there were times when he was banged up in a game, when he had a cut on his face, he had blood dripping out of his mouth or whatever. He lost teeth, and he would still come out and talk to us. I mean, you can't ask for a more stand-up guy and a more honest guy. I mean, he was brutally honest about the way things were, and he was a guy who never really was identified outside the organization as a leader, but within that locker room, he was an absolute, as close to a captain as you can be without being a captain.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. And yeah, just didn't have the, wasn't the C. Easily could have been. Just there's a couple of guys that could have been. He was the other one. But, that was one of those cases where, the timing of his contract probably would have liked it to end a year earlier than it did.
Yeah.
So you ever wonder when people are asking for 5 or 6 year deals? You may want to hold off on that.
Yeah.
But that's the way it goes. I see people ragging Fletcher here for trading, and Chuck had to trade him.
Yeah, he was at the end at that point.
They were done. He was at the end. The production had really, really fizzled.
Yeah.
And you had to try to get something for him at that point. I don't give Chuck anything for that one. It's a move you had to make, actually.
Yeah.
Wish he'd done more of it.
The man of inaction.
Just wait around on trade day. The phone will ring. Wait, it will ring.
You know what is interesting? I haven't had a chance to talk to Danny Briere about this or not, but I was wondering if the app that Fletcher was so proud of, that final trade deadline, I wonder if it's still being used or not. Was that trade app part of this trade deadline? What are you looking at?
By the way, I didn't even notice this, but someone put it on and said, Matt Borst just commented. I'm going to put this one up. Hold on. There we go. Just joined the feed. Oh, that is cute that Russ and Ann are matching.
Oh, this did happen again.
This happened again. This is like the third time this has happened. Completely not planned.
It's upsetting to me. It really is. I need to get a new wardrobe.
I was asked to pull this up again, guys, and I will. And again, it goes and lends a little bit to what we were talking about Chris Simon and the other youngster today. Just talking about, the book, and if, it's called Road to Redemption, and a lot of people have come to me and said, you know what, this book helped me so much. But what I will say is if you are struggling, and even if you have a family member, a friend, I don't know a family that doesn't know somebody or have a connection to someone that doesn't have an issue with addiction or mental health. And I tell people all the time, there's actually a blueprint in that book. Somehow, some way, you'll find the inner courage, I think, to be able to pull off what I did. And so I encourage you to read. It's got good hockey stories, but that's not what the book's about. It's about recovery, my own personal journey in it. And if it helped one person, I suggest you do that. Thanks very much, Brian, for that. I really appreciate it.
And that should lead us to mentioning who our sponsor is, right?
That's exactly right. Pennsylvania Recovery Center. They have 4 locations, including some in Pennsylvania, in Phoenixville, and also in New Jersey and Marlton, correct?
Cherry Hill.
Cherry Hill.
Yeah. And we're doing great work. We help a lot of people, getting a lot of people coming through the doors. We take all kinds of insurance. We have some of the best professionals in the Delaware Valley working for us. So there's no, and like I always tell people, the only thing you have to say to me is I need help and we'll handle the rest. It's that easy.
By the way, our Hextall 87 with some great comments.
What's that?
I blame Chuck for the Eagles' collapse last season.
That's right. Yeah.
And then this one. I blame Fletcher every time a McDonald's shake machine is broken.
Oh, that's a good point. The ice cream. When's the last time you had a McFlurry?
I couldn't tell you.
I don't want to like give sponsorships out to, but I told my kids that I like the McRib, and I love the McRib.
You like the McRib?
I do too. It doesn't come around often enough, but
Intern Andrew, McRib. What do you think? Your thoughts?
I've never had it.
You've never had a McRib?
I'm very simple when it comes to the golden arches. Basically, it's just quarter pounder with cheese, fries, chicken nuggets. I'm home, and a vanilla shake.
Oh, look at that! You go with both.
Not a
both
McNugget,
nuggets.
It's a
Nuggets and a burger.
It's a McFrankenstein.
Well, no. I'm saying it's usually just one or the other.
Oh,
I thought you were saying you got the quarter pounder and the nuggets. I'm like, that's going hard
Good for you.
I have in the past, but not normally.
Go back tonight and take a look at how those nuggets are made, and get back to us next show.
You going to watch a documentary on it?
Yeah, go look at how those puppies are made and tell me how much you enjoy them.
I'll pass.
Oh, look, Bundy's gone. There's
out.
a minute and a half. What are you doing? He's already out.
That's all.
And I'm frozen. Now I'm not frozen. That was great, though. No, you can go. It's okay.
I thought it was a minute 24. Look at how I froze.
Okay. I froze again. Why do I keep freezing? What are you doing over there? Huh?
What are you touching?
I love when you blame intern Andrew.
It's his fault. When the internet doesn't work in this building, it's his fault. Hey, a big thank you to everybody who's tuning in. And by the way, if you haven't done so, head over to YouTube. Hit the like button. That is really important, all right? Many of you check in. Make sure you hit that like button. And then subscribe to the Snow the Goalie channel. Share the video. Subscribe. And if you're on Facebook, we love you. We care about you.
Look at Buddy Love in front of us.
Look at this.
Come here, buddy.
That's great.
Come here.
That's great.
Come on the show for a sec. Come here. Get over here. Come here.
Come here. This is great.
I'm just trying to figure out.
Come over here.
I thought he had a hearing aid in. All right, hold on.
This is fantastic.
Come and join the #1 podcast.
This is fantastic.
Excited. Get over here.
What am I seeing? What am I looking at?
Hey, sir, how are you?
How you doing? What's your name? Tell us.
My name is Tyrone Love.
And you're dying to watch this game tonight, having a good time?
Hey, a diehard Flyers fan, been for years. She's a ticket holder as well.
Look at that.
And also 22 years retired First Sergeant United States Army.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you,
sir.
Hey, great to be here in America. Great here to be here to watch my Flyers. I love you guys.
Turn around. Let's see that shirt. Can you show us that shirt?
Turn around.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Love. We got love. Nothing but love.
We got love. That's what it's all about.
Thank you, my friend. All the Hall of Famers are on it.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
Cam Atkinson, too. Nice. Thanks, buddy. My man. Love you, pal.
It's the Press Row Show. Like we always say, you never know who's going to come on the Press Row Show. It's time for the second period. We'll be back for the second intermission. Talk to you soon. Oh, yes. Welcome into the Press Row Show, the #1 rated pregame, intermission, and postgame show this side of the Mississippi, south of the Arctic Circle and north of the equator. Flyers have extended the lead.
Yeah.
They left the first period up 1-0, and now it's 3-0. And Bundy.
Three seeing eye shots.
Yes.
That amazingly, like 19 seconds into the first, they score just a shot, great screen.
Yep.
Then Sanheim gets one about a minute and something into the second, got a good shot.
Yep.
And then Morgan Frost just toe drags it out high on the blue line and a little bit in, and then takes that shot again. He looks like it hit something and fell into the back of the net. But 3-0 Flyers, and Coots will never get back in the lineup ever again. You saw it right there.
Yeah, Nick DeCristo threw that out there. So
Yeah, it's been.
that was the shortest-lived captaincy in the history of the Philadelphia Flyers. We wish John Couturier the best in his future endeavors.
I think that Sam Ersson had a really nice second period.
He's been really good.
Really nice second period. There were a few stops. I mean, he had the breakaway, shorthanded breakaway that he made the save. He had another couple great saves. He had one right near the end of the period where it was a redirect, and he was able to swallow it up. I think that he was a big reason why the Flyers were able to stretch it to a 3-goal lead in the second period, because I'll be honest, I thought they were a little looser defensively than in the second period than they were in the first, just a hair. But when they were, I think Ersson came up big for them. Even did a nice job on the power play situation. Right?
Whoa, what's this thumbs down? What did you do?
I don't know.
You caused the thumbs down on the screen?
Yeah.
We were
Oh, there it is again! What are you doing over there?
I didn't do anything.
Intern's overstepping his boundaries. Look at him over there.
He's over there going, I don't know how this is
You're
happening.
getting you're getting a
But what
little
if
too
I go
cocky.
like this? Will I get a thumb up? No.
Somebody said that we're too negative pregame. It wasn't too negative. And nobody can tell me I'm too negative, because I've seen every situation and scenario that's humanly possible in a locker room. So I just react to the way that I have historically seen things and see the results when things like this happen.
Love just came back over, by the way.
Yeah,
the guy
good.
that you signed his jersey, right?
Buddy Love?
Yeah. He was just over here. He was trying to get your attention. He walked away.
Okay, well, we got a super chat.
Ah!
David Mako says, Intern Andrew said Torts has lost the locker room, LOL. Way to point that out. That's why.
You know what? Hold on. Let's bring
That's
intern.
why. That's why he's an intern. But
Wow.
let's also
Hot dang.
let's also remember that Russ picked 6-2 Toronto.
Yeah, there's still time. Intern Andrew, explain yourself.
I did say on the record I hoped that I was wrong.
You did.
So I didn't want. It was a prediction. I said I have no idea what goes on behind closed doors. But
That
kind of a hedge.
couldn't be more obvious.
Wow. Ooh!
Is that a shot?
He's got the flamethrower out for you tonight. Usually it's for me. He's kind of changed the target a little bit tonight.
Wow, that is
Good old Anthony over there.
my goodness.
I will say
I
this,
wasn't trying to pick a fight.
and I really don't care. This game tonight has absolutely nothing to do whether Coots is in the lineup or not.
No.
Nothing. Zero.
No.
There's no genius move. There's no nothing. It would have been the same thing whether he was in or not.
Oh, by the way, there's Allison to give you a little bit of an update.
Whoop.
There you go.
Fan predictions. 173 participants. Alex Towns 17. Wow, look at this.
Mike Butts 16.
Relatively close.
Allison, that's amazing work by her.
That's unbelievable.
Allison's awesome.
She's incredible.
An all-timer.
But 173 people taking part in our silly little game.
Our silly little game on a silly podcast.
Anyway.
All right, well, speaking of silly games on silly podcasts, it's the second intermission, and as we've now made this, I guess, lore, it is now officially part of the fabric of the show.
When are you going to have like a little musical interlude to kind of introduce this? You gotta get something that you can play.
The last time you asked that, this went on for like 3 minutes.
All right, let's go. Get to the question.
Well, we can't have a Bundy bomb, but we can have an intern answer bomb.
That was great.
Go ahead.
All right, so Toronto's back tonight. Feel like they were just here. So,
They were.
Yeah, I got it, Bunny. I got it. So the Maple Leafs have not won the Stanley Cup since 1967. That's 55 seasons. It is not only the longest active drought, it is the longest drought in league history, which for them stinks because I am of the opinion, you guys can disagree, that the Maple Leafs are without a doubt the most scrutinized team every single year.
Maybe Montreal.
I still think the Maple Leafs more because of this drought.
Il ne parle pas le Québécois.
Oh, yeah. No. Like, Montreal can hang. It's like the Mets and the Yankees.
Okay.
Yeah, like in terms of Montreal and Toronto. And people are going to no, they have a real passionate, loud fan base in Toronto. But they haven't won since '67 since modern era has really become more meaningful.
Yeah.
So and then Montreal, but Montreal's got like 25 cups or whatever, 26 or whatever it is, and they've done so much winning. They have one every decade, but them too have not won since 1993. What's interesting is I remember 1994, 30 years ago. And that was a talk then, like the New York Rangers haven't won the Stanley Cup in like 52 years.
54.
54 years.
1940, that used to be the champ, right?
So they finally ended up doing it. Now we are at a Ranger drought again at 30 years.
So it's 1 in 84 years. That's it, right? That's right.
84?
Well,
Andrew, in honor of the Canadiens, if you can say the number 84 in French, you will win a point tonight.
I can't remember.
Oh, come on.
Can we do it in German?
84.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay. Well, so we, as the Only Flyers podcast, have to actively root against the Maple Leafs because if they win, the next longest active drought is the Flyers. Right now we're at 47 seasons since 1975.
Right.
So these two teams tonight have the two longest active Stanley Cup droughts. Do you know who's third on that list?
Vancouver.
I forgot to say, for the sake of this question, excluding teams that have never won.
So the longest since they've won a cup.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Calgary.
Not Calgary is
89.
They're fifth.
Okay.
So something longer than Calgary. New York Islanders.
That's correct.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, good call. 83, 84 was the last one they won.
1983.
Yeah.
Can you say 83 in French?
I'm sorry, I lied. Calgary's fourth. Edmonton is fifth.
There you go.
There were three
So
teams.
the Islanders are three?
The Islanders are the Islanders are the correct answer. But
Yeah.
there were three teams that have not won since the 80s.
Don't turn to Andrew. Another. There you go.
Good. I figured you guys would know that one.
There's another good one. Wow.
Yeah. I just had to think about it a little bit. So.
Is that what that burning smell is?
No, that burning smell is me catching you in the standings on the predictions. Is what that was.
It was a good call by Ann. I mean, listen, they got a 3-0 lead, and I'd like to think that that's enough to hang on against the Toronto. I'm calling it right now. The Flyers. I'm with Anthony, and I wanted to say it earlier. I just didn't think it would happen, but
you know what though? An early power play. We always talk about how important the first 5 minutes are in the third period. A power play for Toronto could flip this thing.
I'm not supremely confident. I'm just cautiously optimistic at this point. Because you never know. You never know. You could have. You remember the time in Toronto when Austin Matthews scored a natural hat trick in the second period, right?
Yep.
Absolutely.
Well, Ersson being on his game tonight like he has been, including a stop on a breakaway while Toronto was on the PK, correct? That was a big save.
Yeah.
He certainly seems locked in tonight, and when Ersson's on his game, which in fairness he hasn't really been of late, he's hard to beat. So I think you probably should feel a little bit more confident than you do.
I'm just going to say it. I think the Flyers are walking home here tonight with ease.
I'll say it. By the way, I like Mike Butts chiming in from 20 feet
From right
away.
over there. He's right there.
I love that he watches the show live and on YouTube
and
at the same time.
And listens on delay.
And so is Superfan Eric. Yeah.
There he is, our boy Superfan.
Superfan Eric. Both of them watching the game from right in front of us.
They get it.
And chiming in at the
These
same
guys
time.
get it.
Awesome.
That's how
Superfan
this
comes
works.
up every second. He joined us the other night. There he is in front of us. How you doing, Eric? Doing good tonight? You're in a good spirits?
Eric, Mike, you're in second place, right? Second place in the standings.
Yeah, second place.
Maybe a chance to move up. Who knows? Who's to say? Yeah. I don't know what his prediction was tonight.
I think he picked the same thing I did.
All right, well, there you go.
If I'm not mistaken.
Well,
Come on over, son.
I love when he brings Eric on.
What's Eric going to do?
Yeah,
My God, what's Eric going to say?
How are you doing tonight?
Right now, good.
What are you feeling right now for the third? You feel safe with tonight?
I feel a little safe, yes.
Is Eric doing well in the standings too? He is, right?
I don't know where
He
Eric
is.
is in the standings.
I think he was in like third or fourth. He was up there.
I think he's up there.
He was definitely up there.
Oh, hold on. Let's take intern Andrew off there while he's manning the camera over there. Yeah, there you go.
There it is. Eric is in 1, 2, 3, tied for third.
Tied for third. That's not bad.
You are.
Tied for third.
We keep track. Lee,
Not bad.
Lee keeps track. Yeah, for the year, yeah.
Yeah, tied for third amongst the fans.
If you do, you win a Yager bobblehead.
That's awesome.
18,000 of them.
That's
That's
awesome.
good stuff.
All right,
Good
we're
stuff.
gonna we want an expert opinion. The Flyers will win this game tonight.
Yes.
You heard
Wow.
it here from
There you
Superfan Eric. Thank you again, son. We thank you.
Yep,
There you go.
Absolutely.
Let's bring Mike
Excellent.
over. Mike
Mike.
is in second place.
Mike,
Let's
come
bring
on
Mike
over,
over. Mike, we got to get Mike's opinion here. We got to know where Mike landed in the.
Go on in, Mike. Come on the camera, Mike.
Let's ask Mike really
Welcome
quickly.
to Snow the Goalie.
Let's ask Mike what his prediction was. I don't
Mike,
remember.
who's your prediction tonight, buddy? What'd you have?
I had 4-3 Flyers.
Oh, you had 4-3 Flyers.
4-3
4-3 Flyers.
Okay.
Okay, well, so that's the
And
Flyers
I'm
to
loving
win.
every minute of tonight's game.
Yeah.
He's getting close.
Totally different team compared to Thursday night, especially ours.
Yeah,
There you go.
we just said the same thing.
They are playing a perfect game. Nothing fancy. Shoot the puck. Get it on net. Good things happen.
Playing a simple game.
What it's been.
Our
Yep.
fans are experts like we are.
That's right.
Thank you.
I don't know why we do this job.
I know. Like sometimes it's just like, you know what?
Going to the rest of the year because I'm very proud of what I've done so far with these predictions.
Yeah, you've done a hell of a
Yeah.
job.
You're done doing
That's
well.
exactly
You've done a
right.
hell of a job.
See you later, Eric.
You know what this is?
Double right on the money.
No, there's the Marvel, the MCU, the Marvel Cinematic Universe. You know that one?
Thanks.
Yes, I know
Right
what it
there,
is,
buddy.
yes.
Thank you. God bless
I feel like that's what Snow the Goalie is becoming. Like we just have
The Flyers cinematic universe?
Yeah, but like we just like the amount of people that have now kind of fallen into the sphere of influence with Snow the Goalie. Like if you think about at the carnival the other day, right? Brad Marsh was not scheduled to what? What happened? You pulling it up? He can replace Barry Melrose. I loved Barry's suits. But anyway,
Barry's awesome.
you know, you think back to the other night, Brad Marsh wasn't supposed to be on the show, but he came over because he knows the importance of the Only Flyers podcast. We had Natalie on. Natalie was a big hit with the fans, saving the hockey rink up in New Hanover Township. That was good stuff. Still no announcement there with the Flyers charities, although there was kind of a hint that there might be something in the works there, which is very encouraging. I'd encourage people to go back and watch or listen to. That's also in the podcast feed, the show that we did from the carnival.
So you're basically saying it's the Snow the Goalie Flyers universe.
Kind of, yeah.
So it would be the STGFU.
Well, then we can get the G out, the STFU,
STG.
Snow the Flyers
FU.
universe. That could be a shirt. Snow the Flyers universe.
Yeah.
Over available on shop.snowthegoalie.com.
5 minutes left in intermission. What are we looking at here, Russ?
I think I'm gonna just like walk off the show early, like you sometimes.
First
you know?
5 minutes? You can walk off
Well,
the
okay,
show.
the first 5 minutes are going to be important in this one, Bundy, because the Flyers have had a propensity for coming out a little bit flat-footed with a lead, so we'll see if they're able to extend it. If they're able to get a goal in that first 5, this game is over. If Toronto, like I said before, if they're able to get a couple of power plays in this period, the game could go upside down. Hard to say, but I would not, while I think the Flyers are probably trending in the right direction here, walking away with a win, you never know with Toronto. They're about as Jekyll and Hyde of a team as there is in the league.
They are, but again, they've had opportunities. They've hit some posts. Matthews has been kind of like he's had decent opportunities with the puck, but Toronto has tried to do too much in this game. Like they're making extra passes they don't need to make. They've had plays in tight.
Is that them getting too cute?
Yeah, that's what happens when you get a skilled team sometimes, and sometimes it trends that way. And then you have to bring guys back down to earth again.
Yeah.
When you got a super, super talented team, a lot of guys trend and tend to do what those skill guys do, and so and without realizing that they just don't have that kind of skill set. So
yeah,
I think Toronto's got themselves caught in a little bit of a trap like that tonight. And if you're the Flyers, it hasn't been sexy. I mean, it's been 3 shots. There's been nothing sexy about this effort tonight, and I think that the Flyers should try to keep this as unsexy as possible because this is working.
Sometimes it doesn't need to be sexy.
That's correct, Russ. I don't know where you're going here, but I'm stopping.
What was that thump?
This is my table.
Thump of the table, thank you.
Yeah, that's right.
Hey, there were a couple questions about some guys that have been injured that Drysdale was on the ice today. He was skating today.
Yeah.
And then there are questions about updates on Risto as well.
We don't really have much in the way of updates. I mean, you heard, I guess it was Brad Shaw that we asked about it on Sunday at the Carnival. And he answered the questions by saying that, Sealer's likely to get back sooner, and that the other guys, it's going to be tough, but they're trying.
Yeah.
And I think that that's a fair assessment. Like, is it possible that they could get back? Maybe. I think Drysdale might be slightly better chance than Risto. But I also know that they want to be careful with Drysdale because he's an investment player, right? And he's only 22, and
that
he's injured that shoulder twice
yeah.
now. And, they want to be careful and only make sure that he comes back if absolutely needed. So I think that that's a thing.
Somebody actually made a comment the other day that we didn't ask Jonesy about bringing guys up on the fence at the end of the Carnival show. And I was actually saying that if you'd have listened to the interview we did with Brad Shaw, we got all the things that we'd asked about both Ginning and especially Emil Andre. And what he said about Andre was he's got to learn to not get himself killed when he came up here. So we talked about it, and there was really no need to ask Jonesy because we had a pretty good idea of what was going to happen with the fence.
Yeah.
And those moves had already been in motion. So
Spiral, by the way, Spiral out there mentioned about Jonesy talking about Kolosov on Snow the Goalie at the Carnival because somebody else asked about Kolosov. And the thing that we talked with Jonesy about is the fact that, like, they're hopeful, but there are some visa things that have to get figured out.
I'm under the impression that he applied for his visa.
Okay.
That's what I've been told. And I think it's just a matter of that taking, 10 days to kind of come to fruition. Right? I mean, you would know more about this than I would. I don't know what the international
usually takes a week to 10 days, and they move it quick. But that would be him coming across the right way and making sure everything's dotted, I's are dotted, and T's are crossed. Yeah.
Hey, fourth host Nancy asked who in the media is going to have the stones to ask Torts about benching Coops.
Sure, somebody will.
Oh, and raises his hand. By the way, Greg Mack. No, wait, no, it wasn't Greg Mack. It was A-Dubs who asks Bundy, what would Hitch say to the Flyers before the third?
We've really worked hard so far to this point. Let's get out there and finish the job tonight, guys.
I wonder if they'll tell Torts in advance that I'm writing for the Associated Press tonight. So maybe, I'm not necessarily representing the silly podcast. Maybe that'll change things.
I have a feeling he's going to make people wait forever tonight, too.
I don't think Torts sees the publication or the podcast. I think that no matter what, he's going to see your big old dome and he's going to
answer any of your questions.
We got to pull
but
up.
We'll see. What?
Hail Sagan.
Oh.
Hey, guys, always enjoy your show and listen all the time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hail Sagan.
Carl Sagan.
Carl Sagan, right?
Carl Sagan. Let's begin.
The fact that you know Carl Sagan, I'm impressed.
In order to
the
universe, or in order to make an apple pie, you must first invent the universe.
Hey, the game's on.
The game's back.
Yeah, all right, we're gonna head out. All right, talk to you all post game. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into the Press Row Show, the number one rated pregame, intermission, and postgame show this side of the Mississippi, south of the Arctic Circle, north of the equator, and the number one pregame, intermission, and postgame show in Wells Fargo Center tonight, because we are live on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter, on Dasher, on Dancer, on Prancer, on Vixen, on Common, on Cupid, on Donner, on Torts. Torts made a call, scratched Sean Couturier tonight. Sean Couturier will not get back in the lineup the rest of the year because your team, your town, your Philadelphia Flyers won 4-3 without the captain in the lineup. Shortest lived captaincy in the history of the team. We wish him well in his future endeavors. Bundy, how are you?
Doing good, Russ. That was not the way you wanted to design the third period.
No.
But I did say the Flyers would finish it off with ease. I was wrong. There was nothing easy about it. You know, again, in the third period, when Toronto needed to score, you could see the talent.
Yeah.
Like, you could see the team making plays and star power shining through. I mean, I think pretty much all of them at the end there, every one of the Toronto stars available tonight had something in on all their goals. I'll take the win. I mean, we'll take the win because you needed 2 points.
Yeah, what's that thing you always say? It's not how, it's how many.
Yeah, you don't. I mean, at this point, there's no style points. I didn't like much about the third period at all. I mean, the Flyers got lucky in a lot of ways. Toronto had some sloppy passes that went out of the zone. The Flyers got a super lucky bounce with the Lawton goal at the end. I mean, it's a great play by Lawton. But it was, you know, it kind of fell that way. That was the game winner. But Toronto didn't go away, and the Flyers were not able to really stop that either. And so that's where the concern is again. And yeah, I mean, am I going to say Torch looks like a genius tonight? No. I mean, you made a call to sit a guy out. It worked out. It worked out tonight. But I always believe, like, when you sit someone, there's as meaningful as that, there's lasting ramifications. At least those are the cases when stuff like this has happened. So, but again, tonight it worked. They needed the 2 points. It didn't matter how. It didn't matter the process. They had to finish Toronto off, and they did. And you know, and again, it's hard to beat a team twice on the road. Yeah. Toronto got the win last week, so I mean,
well, and it is a big difference because last week, this time when the teams played, they did not have Tortorella behind the bench, or no? Or did they?
For what?
Last week, yeah, they didn't have Torts behind the bench.
That's correct.
In the last Toronto game, where they got their doors blown off.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah.
San Jose and Toronto, I believe. Right?
Yeah. And then they had him back for Boston.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, questions here about Ginning. If you remember, we talked about this last week about how good he and Adard looked together in Florida, and it was kind of surprising that they hadn't gone back to that well. A lot of people saying that he looked pretty decent, pretty solid, pretty steady tonight. What did you see out of Ginning?
I didn't notice him,
which is a good thing.
And that's a good thing.
Yeah.
I mean, if you said, "Oh, there's Adam Yenning playing tonight," I've been like, "Really?" And that just means he didn't make any glaring mistakes. He didn't do anything that was, you know, out of his comfort zone for, you know, a guy who has not played in this league, and thought he did a good job.
Yeah. Yep.
Really good job. A lot of guys stepped up tonight. Tippett had a good game.
Yeah. Okay, can we talk about him real quick?
Sure.
There was that breakaway that he had earlier in the game.
Yep.
They said that on TSN he was clocked at 38 kilometers per hour. Like, he had the boosters on in that one.
Yeah.
He's got better. I think he's got like deceptive speed.
He has no idea how to go wide. Like, I talk to John LeClaire all the time.
Yeah.
And when I go over like second period, go shoot the breeze with Johnny for like 15 minutes, and I tell him all the time, I'm like, this guy has. Like, does anybody tell him to drive the net? Because when I watch him, that would be a nightmare scenario. But he doesn't.
Yeah.
He just goes wide and then he runs out of space. If he actually dipped his shoulder and decided that he wanted to, like, make it really hard on D, I'll tell you what, he'd be a physical star. He's a better skater than LeClaire. He's definitely not better in front of the net because he doesn't go there.
Yeah.
I mean, not the way Big John did.
Yeah.
But I always tell people, man, if you're a big skating guy like that, you got wheels and you're setting off that kind of speed, you better start figuring out how to drive wide on defensemen and get pucks quicker to the net. You know, we talked about this before. I really feel like Forrester and Tippett rely too much on their shots.
Yeah.
Rather than the dog in them to get in front of the net. Because I think the dog at the end of the day will get you more goals than your shot.
Yeah. A few interesting things, I guess, coming out of this one. You know, there are people who are pointing out the fact that, like, yes, the Flyers were able to hold on for a 4-3 win. 2 points, critical. Toronto hit a lot of posts tonight.
They did.
5, 6. It was a lot of posts.
Yep.
And again, you can look at it and you can certainly say, hey, even one of those goes in, there's overtime. 2 go in, the game goes the other way. But they won.
They are.
I don't know. I mean, I think you can kind of nitpick. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's a fair point, and it's a game of inches sometimes. All right, let's go to some of the questions, comments, concerns. By the way, I know that there has been a player requested. I'm not sure where we're at on that. We are sending Anthony down for the Torts press conference.
Eric Berkey is right here. Toronto showing why they will fail. I mean, they don't. Yeah, and I mean, again, they have the set of skill that's really like just incredible, but they don't have the depth to take this into a deep run. There's no way.
You know what stands out the most when watching their skill? Like when you're so used to watching this Flyers team that listen, when they win, it's because they work hard and they outwork the opposition, right? When you watch a team that has the kind of top end skill that Toronto has, where it's like even late in that period, I think it was after Toronto's last goal, they had a play that went from just inside the blue line down to far post, and it was a pass that, like, any Flyers defenseman tries to make that pass, and it's an absolutely not. That's going the other way on an odd man rush. And they executed it, and you watch how crisp they can be in the offensive end, and sometimes as some of these guys are out making plays and are just kind of dancing through Flyers defenders, which did happen a lot in the third period, it's like the puck has a string attached to it.
Yep.
And that to me is like one of those, just you can see the difference in skill.
For sure. I mean, you got a guy that was picked first overall in Matthews. I mean, these guys going to maybe get 70 goals. I mean, he could possibly. Didn't have any tonight, but he was an impactful hockey player.
Yeah.
As he is almost every night.
There is I think this is probably partially sarcastic, but Rory says, guess that means Coots is scratched next game now, too.
Not necessarily.
Do you think that this is is this just going to be a one-game thing?
I would think so.
If you had to guess.
If he scratches him again, I'd be really surprised. Really, really surprised. Well, we'll see.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't get into his head. Like, and again, I don't know like what he looked at. Sometimes a coach will go and watch the game and he'll see something different than maybe he saw live.
Yeah.
That happens a lot. And sometimes when you think your team was actually bad, you go and end up watching the game and they were better than you thought that they were.
Yeah.
So it all depends he'll make the decision based on what he thinks of the guys that played ahead of him tonight, whether that change is deemed a worthy based on the next opponent. Carolina's a speed team.
Yeah.
And if he's saying like you needed rest and he slowed up, then maybe we don't. But I would be surprised. You know what? And to be quite honest with you, they could have used Coots at the end too tonight. Last 10 minutes for draws,
as things were.
Presence in the zenith.
The face-off circles was certainly a spot that this team really lost out on tonight on his presence.
Yeah, I didn't like the end of the game. In the other play too, where that pass went out front and made it 3-2. That's a play right there for the defenseman Sanheim. You've got to go down. Like, he's standing there in front with his stick forward, and the pass comes through. At that point, you got to know who's got the puck, and then you've got to go down on one knee to eliminate the pass, the option. It's all what the puck carrier sees at that point. And if he sees a stick with an open seam, he's going to try to feed that. If you go down on one knee and you just lay your shin pad down on the ice, that player is going to hesitate to make that pass. That was just too easy. That's one thing I didn't like in the third. It was just too easy for Toronto sometimes.
Yeah. We did have somebody in here who's very upset with us.
Okay.
Robbie TO22. Hey, guys, why don't you just be happy with 2 points and stop effing whining? I guess we're whining.
Are we? I just said we got 2 points. It's a good 2 points. We didn't care for style. You don't get any of this 20 years. A great win. I'm sorry. Would you like us to polish it? Jeez. What's next, Russ?
We also have to be honest. Point out 5 posts, game goes a different way. 2 of those posts go a different way, you lose the game. I don't know.
But it didn't.
You can't sell, like, when you watch this game, right? Especially that third period when the wheels really started to fall off. It's like, you can't try to gussy this thing up to be something it wasn't. This wasn't like a dominant performance by any stretch of the imagination, but they held on and they got the job done.
They did.
And Tippett, you kind of have to go back to this. Tippett and Frost and Konechny, that line, that they made a lot happen tonight.
They did. Konechny, he made some good plays, but you could tell he's not the same guy he was before the injury.
Yeah,
and he's come back, and and whether it's still nagging.
Ant says that he's still hurt, that he's playing through injury that he probably otherwise wouldn't have been playing through, but they're making a playoff push.
He doesn't have the same jump and pop that he had before, where he's hitting those seams and really, really, like really hopping on his skates. And I've noticed that, and I think other people would have too. I mean, if you're watching, but he was good tonight. He just hasn't been like the TK that we'd been accustomed to seeing this year.
Here's a good question from Titan Flyer over on YouTube. By the way, if you're on YouTube right now, hit the like button. It helps us out a ton. Like the video, share the video, subscribe, ring the bell so you get notified whenever we go live with the show. Titan Flyer says, near the end of the season, if the Flyers clinch a playoff spot, will they sit anyone to rest for the playoffs? It's going to be hard to I think it's going to be hard
if this team clinches before the last 2 days of the regular season,
which is
that's
Jersey. That's Jersey and
maybe.
Washington, I think, are the last two games.
I would be absolutely shocked
if they're
able to clinch before then.
Yeah,
I think it's going to be because what will happen is teams are going to start playing each other.
Yeah,
and I just think that's going to make it's going to carry this deep. But you want to have they have any like we said 6 points, so they got 2 now, 2 points in 3 games.
Yeah,
and they got 4 games left, so they need to get 4 points in the next 4 games. That's what we said, and
it is amazing how one win can flip that thing, right? Because we were talking about like it was. You missed out on 4 in the first 2 games, and now all of a sudden it does look a little bit rosier. That picture looks a little bit more realistic. Just an update on the standings because I know that some other teams are in action, but as of right now.
Oh, Robbie just wanted to tell us. It was not us. It was the chat that he was saying was a negative.
Oh, I thought, yeah.
Robbie TO22. Is that TO for like Toronto?
Like Terrell Owens?
He might be a Toronto fan.
Oh, I don't think so.
We get you, Robbie. Thanks, bud. You know what? I think we like. I mean, our fans. The one thing our fans do is they kind of flow with with the emotion. Let it out. Whatever you see, you put it out there.
One of my favorite things to do sometimes is like you go back to one of the press row shows like after the fact, like once it's all done. Because on YouTube you can do the live chat as it plays through, and if you go back and you watch the chat pregame, it was a lot of people just kind of going after Torts for the Couturier decision. After the first period, it was, all right, like you got a lead, kind of an ugly period. After the second period, it was, hey, here we go, boys, because they had a nice lead. And then as you watch the third period, as Toronto started scoring, it was hellfire and brimstone. So chat's been up and down tonight, but that's okay. That's why we love the people. The update here on the standings is that the Flyers are up 3 points on the Caps. They're up 5 points on the Islanders. Both of those teams have 2 games in hand on the Fly Guys.
That Islander experiment hasn't come to fruition with Patrick Waugh at all.
No.
At all. Like, I think it was too late. Lou's had success doing that, Lamoriello in the past, bringing in a coach late and getting guys all fired up. But I just don't think this is working. That's a weird team. You got to watch a team like the Islanders because you look at them on paper, right? And they're not that old. They got some pretty good players.
Yeah.
And they've regressed quite honestly the last couple of years.
Which is a frustrating thing if you're a fan of that team.
Yeah, and you don't want to see that, right? Because dashes your hope. They made a huge trade for Horvat last year, and it's really odd.
We talked last week about what's happening in the Atlantic, too, because when you're looking at the playoff picture, we've said for quite a while that our belief has been, or had been before Detroit went into free fall, that both wild cards were going to probably come out of the Atlantic. And you look at that picture now, and that's also pretty complicated, too. So Toronto is at 85 points. They're barring the floor falling out there, they'll make it in. So then you're looking at the next 2. You're looking at the Lightning. They've got 78 points. You're looking at the Red Wings. They've got 76 points. There are like, 5-6 teams that are in the mix for those final 2 wild card spots. And it's going to be interesting. Like you mentioned, they've got the Devils and then the Caps to close out the season. And, like, given where the Caps are right now, like, I cannot envision a scenario where you're going to be in position to clinch.
No. That's what I'm saying.
Before those 2.
And if you do, maybe you give guys a couple games or something, young guys that you want to have a look at to reward them. But, again, I don't see that happening.
Well, I do want to go back to that because, here we were again. There were some younger guys in the lineup tonight. They did play a faster game. We were critical of the decision to sit to scratch Couturier. I still don't think it was the right move, but that's okay. They got the win tonight. They did go back to some younger defensemen tonight. Is it something that you think they'll continue to look at? I think the quote was the quote today that we're now past the point of relying on guys for their veteran presence, and it's really about who the best lineup is. Like if they're going to turn the keys over to like the Jennings and Adams of the world, and those guys step up and they look steady, what better time to give them an opportunity than in the midst of a playoff run?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. If they're playing fine, you should have no problem playing it. But the thing is that, and I know this from the league and people in the league, they're really hesitant to just toss young guys into dire situations where, you know, and I'd be fine with it because this, you know, this has been a blessing this year anyway, you know, finding wins and being in the position they're in. So I don't know. I mean, I tell you one thing, I'd be very, very surprised if they played one of their young D ahead of like an Eric Johnson in a playoff series.
You think so?
I do.
Really?
I do.
Now, do you think that would be a Torts wanting to rely on a guy who's won a cup before? Like, but
it'll
like
be an organizational decision, and I'm pretty sure the veteran plays.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
That's a guess, but that's what I would presume.
Yeah, I mean, you could be right.
Are we waiting all night for postgame? You know what? I got the whole Cherokee offensive line still running around the building here somewhere.
Is that what's happening?
My son. Yeah, I don't know
where's he at?
I have
Who's
no
he blocking
idea.
for?
I don't know where they're at.
There are legitimate questions.
It's like 1,000 pounds of beef running around the building.
Let me see. There's some other stuff here in the comments. I know that it looks like we're waiting for a player. That appears to be why intern Andrew is just shaking his camera all around, which people can't see at home, but I can promise you it's happening right now. Let's see. Sturdy says the Leafs are going to bury Washington tomorrow. Have you noticed a significant drop-off in block shots since Sealer's gone out?
Sure. Of course. Guy blocks an awful lot of shots.
I mean, it's probably partially how he got hurt, but let's see. Francis Izzo says the D was better, so young. What does that say? Was better though. So I think it's supposed to be so long.
Young.
Maybe so long stall, too slow. They'll struggle, but great learning right now. Is there a negative to playing the younger guys at this point?
Is there a point?
No, I said, is there a negative to playing them at this point?
Because it doesn't matter whether it's a negative or not. Yeah, they have to play. There's no one else to play, so they have to play. There's only a situation late when the guys are throwing at it, and then they realize like, hey, we have to step. There's no choice. Like guys have to play, and that's why you have depth in the minors. So that's really what teams or people are dealing with right now. Do we have a guest?
Anthony said that there's something going on with the guy that we were going to get, so they're going to go to Torts now. They are in transit to Torts.
Okay.
And obviously the interesting thing that somebody is going to ask, and maybe it'll be Ant, maybe it'll be somebody else, is what went into the decision to scratch Sean Couturier tonight. Torts did not address that after the morning skate. He deferred to Rocky Thompson, which I thought was a little bit questionable, but we'll see if he addresses it tonight. There certainly will be questions asked. I'm sure that question will not go over particularly well. I'm not exactly sure if the coach is going to give much of a long-winded answer. I think the more interesting thing, and I'm not sure for the podcast listeners after the fact, I don't know if you will have heard this or not, but in pregame, Kevin Kurz from The Athletic was talking about how he talked to Couturier's agent for a story he's writing following the scratching, and that what had been intimated to him was that the coach and the captain have not really had much in the way of communication, and not just since the scratching, but over the last few weeks.
There's been some bad blood building up. Is that what
well,
you're saying?
He didn't say bad blood, just that there's not a
lack
lack of communication between the coach and the captain. So I want to throw this to you while we wait for Torts. Is how does that work? Can that work, especially as you're on the road potentially to the playoffs? Can a team function where the coach and the captain aren't in sync?
That would be tough. And again, that it puts a team in a bad spot because you force guys to kind of choose. And I don't think that's the right thing to do or the right perception of what should happen at a time of the year like that. Again, I would say, oh, maybe they get into a meeting. But, I mean, I kind of realize I don't think and I know a player, this is different with a player. I'm not sure Torts is much of a meeting guy after a certain point.
Yeah.
I don't know that I never played for him, but I think that I'm reading something here. Did Coots' agent said a couple things today? Did he? Is there a comment on it that went public or something?
I don't know if Kevin released his story, if he put his story up tonight. I know he was talking about it. He wanted to see if Torts addressed it or not. So here we go. Here's
What's
Tortorella.
your decision to
Not answering your question.
That's right.
Next
Somebody else will
question.
ask it. John, was there any effect, do you think, with pulling Sean Couturier from the lineup? What were you looking for from the team?
As I told you, I'm putting the players out on the ice to win a particular game. And these were the 20 that we decided to go with.
He seemed a little,
But I'm talking on Sean. I'm not debating with you. I'm not conversing with this between Sean and I. So just talk to me about the game, guys.
So Sean, with that, how do you think the team responded, especially?
It has nothing to do with Sean. You're asking me about the team.
I'm asking you, how did they respond in your eyes?
Our team played good tonight.
Samuel Anderson, are you just getting accustomed to him responding?
Huge game for Sam. Just for him to get some swagger back in his game. He was outstanding. That's a hard team to play. They're so balanced. I don't think they can move up or down in the standings. They just play. They play free. I thought we played hard. I thought that it was a huge game for Sam just to get a result and to get some of his confidence back.
You mentioned about how free they play offensively. Obviously, they have a lot of firepower. Last 2 games, you guys gave up 6 goals each game. What do you think the biggest difference was defensively tonight?
Well, I would block some shots. It's something we haven't done consistently enough, and our sticks have been better. Still, there's chances. There's breakdowns. It's going to be. That's where Sam stood in there. I just thought our team defense in the middle of the ice, when there were breakdowns, were willing to block shots and having their sticks on the ice. We've had problems having pucks being played through us. I look at the third goal. We have 2 guys there, Sandy and Bales, and it's still in our net. Those are the type of plays we're trying to stop. They're in good position, but they're just not ready to take the ice away with their sticks. So, but I thought we were better tonight.
Why do you think, obviously it was better tonight, but why do you think that's maybe slipped a little bit recently?
Oh, we have different pairs defensively, different personnel, and sometimes it goes ebbs and flows as far as defending.
On that 4th goal, it looked like you guys, over the past few games, have been the opposite side of that. Do you guys try to have a scoring chance?
Lots goal?
Yes. Oh, you guys have a scoring chance, and then it doesn't go in and it goes up the ice, and the other team scores. Is that saying anything to you guys that kind of it feels like things are starting to go better for you guys?
Well, I like the way we hung on a little bit, but I just like the way we kept on trying to play. You know what's happening when they score their first goal in the 3rd period of power play. You know it's going to be one of those games. In the 3rd period, it's going to be close. So to have some of our kids play in that situation and play with some poise, go through that experience is huge and come out with a result. As we talked about prior, it doesn't matter how we get the result, through the front door, back door, side door, however we do it, we need to get a result, as I talked about with Sam, for the whole team, just to get some sort of confidence back. So, we win a game and we leave tomorrow and go play another really good team.
To get goals in the first minute, in the first and second periods, did it almost set the tone that this is not the same game that we played the last 2 games?
Well, especially at the start of the game, I think it allows you to play with some swagger and some confidence. Score it right away. We still struggle a little bit with some shifts after that goal, but we still have a lead. So I thought we managed the game okay. There's some guys that still have to understand situational play, but I'm not picking this apart. This is about somehow getting points, and we get 2 huge points here tonight. We'll get on the plane tomorrow and try to find a way to get some other points in Carolina.
A lot of the
1 or 2 more.
The key guys who stepped up maybe fall into that bucket as younger vets, guys like Tippett, Frost, York, have big games tonight. How, I wouldn't want to say relieving, but how big is it to see those guys embrace the challenge of tonight?
It's huge. And that's why those guys deserve to be in the lineup. They have played well, and they get these opportunities, and this is where we're at, is we're playing these types of games at middle to almost the end of March, and we have guys that have to experience this for us to go through this process of building this team. So to get through the pressure of it, to understand the situational play, and be involved in a game like this, and there's going to be more as we keep on going. It's huge as far as the process, as far as trying to get this team to be a consistent team, trying to get in the playoffs.
Did you like Adam Jennings game tonight? I
Yeah,
was out
I
there
got-
late too.
I got to watch the tape. I listened to some of the guys talking. I think they felt comfortable with him. Plays in the last minute. I got to watch the tape, but he's a guy that plays. I don't think there was any nervousness with him. I think Ronnie Adder, still a little bit of a gambler sometimes with the puck. I think he has to understand put pucks into areas and not get carried away with the puck. But they're learning, and they made some mistakes. But that to be involved in it and make the mistakes, but still get thrown out there again, that's how you build this. And that's how we'll evaluate. Are they going to be able to handle it or not? We're going to see as we play these games through the remainder of the year, and hopefully end up on the right side to play some playoffs.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, John.
All right, Russ.
Greetings.
Was that Lord Farquaad? Lord Farquaad on the podium.
Well, he had
Did Ant
himself.
get doused again?
He had himself a moment. There are a lot of comments over here that I was going to bring up while it was happening, but I opted not to. But yeah, he flamed Ant again. Although I don't know if you heard what Ant said. I heard it.
No.
So Ant asked the question about Couturier, and Torts did not answer and said, "I'm not answering your question." And Ant fired back for the first time.
Good.
And he said, "Someone else will ask it."
Yeah. Yeah. Just in case. We always have backup people asking the same question next. I mean, we weren't just going to let that roll, were we?
No.
I was the biggest ball breaker in the locker room. And every time that happens now, it just makes me look at like, what's wrong?
Yeah.
What is that?
Yeah. I didn't catch every question there because you and I have a hard time up here hearing all of this sometimes. But it's very, very interesting. I'm going to be interested to see how the media goes after this the next few days, if they're going to continue to ask questions about it, because he didn't really give a very definitive answer there.
No, and actually I thought he threw a little bit more shade back towards the actual benching, where guys deserve to play, and you know, and that was kind of him enunciating that, but whatever.
It'll be interesting to see if this does end up being more than one game or not. I honestly have no idea.
Still got a lot of love for Kevin Hayes, though. That's amazing.
Why? What happened there?
Well, no, he's still backing up what he did there before. Never saw a guy, like I said before, I never saw a guy ever get treated like Kevin Hayes did in my life by a coach.
Yeah.
But Ant can't get a question in. It's actually at a point now where it's just funny. Like, even we talk to the Flyers, like, just laugh at it and make fun of it.
Yeah.
That's the answer we get. Just laugh at it and ridicule it. Okay.
All right. Here we are. Anyway, it was a fun night down here. Game was a little bit, wonky, but they got the win. And now, as we look ahead, Bundy, before we head out here, Flyers still have some pretty big games coming up. They're in the midst of this 7-game run where we said it's kind of their hell stretch. They are at Carolina on Thursday. They're home against Boston. That's an afternoon game, a 1 o'clock puck drop on Saturday. And then they are also home on Sunday night, 6 o'clock against Florida. Higher level question here, Bundy. Those 3 games.
We got one of these guys, this little rat right here, this McAfee rat.
There's a rat?
Yeah, this little punk right
There's
here.
a rat?
He comes after Anthony. He comes after me. No, actually, he has no idea. The Flyers brought us in here. McAfee, tell us who you really are.
McAfee,
Clown.
sell out McAfee. So this is somebody who dedicated
he's
dedicated an
I
entire
read a couple of his
YouTube
quotes.
account. Hold on. Dedicated an entire account on YouTube to calling Pat McAfee a sellout for going to ESPN. Wild.
Yeah.
Anyway, how do you see these next 3 games going?
Going to be tough. Carolina's going to be tough with speed. Yeah, and then the weekend's going to be really a big tell. Rangers lost tonight, so maybe hopefully that sets them back in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
Like you can lose one and then it kind of follows a little bit. So we'll see if they go trending the wrong way. But again, the Flyers are going to have to be really focused. Like they got a next game in Carolina. That's a speed team. They flourish at home a lot more. They get a lot more of their skill out than they do on the road. So Flyers are going to have to really be ready for that game. And they're a little bit like Toronto in a sense.
Yeah.
Carolina.
Yep. All right. I think it's time for us to go. We had fun down here. The people in the comment section, I think, had a lot of fun tonight. Good stuff. And as Ed points out, interesting night in the comment section, and it sure was. Everybody have a great rest of your night. We will be back
Thanks, everybody.
Sooner than later. I don't know. We'll probably figure out if we're doing morning after on Friday or regular Snow the Goalie, whatever it's going to be later this week. And then we'll be down here for 2 press row shows this weekend, both Saturday and Sunday.
There's the man. Look at that smile. This used to like tick us off. Now we just laugh.
Here he comes.
It's actually become like a clown show. It's like a little clown show.
Do you want to say? Listen, we gave you kudos too. You actually had a retort this time. You had a retort for torts.
Yeah, well, I mean, you knew somebody was going to ask the question anyway, so he's got to answer it. So I figured I'd be the first one to ask, and he doesn't want to answer it. Somebody else is going to ask it. I'm going to get the quote anyway, right? So, yeah.
There you go.
That's how it works.
A little bit of feisty. Anthony's getting a little bit feisty. He's finally getting get some hair on his head.
I don't know, it's at a point now where it's almost like
no Bundy bombs.
No.
Yeah.
All
right. Well, anyway, we appreciate everybody who checked in tonight on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. And, of course, we appreciate all the people who check in the next day or later in the night on the podcast feed as well. If you haven't done so, like the video, share the video, subscribe, ring the bell so you're notified whenever we drop a video. And if you're on a podcast app, Apple Podcasts, Pandora, Spotify, make sure you follow the show, subscribe, and leave a 5-star review over on Apple Podcasts, and we'll get back to reading them later this week. So for Ant, who's on his way out, for Bundy, who's on his way out, I'm Russ. Intern Andrew is somewhere in the building, and we will talk to all of you later this week.